Financial Planner. Follow us on YouTube.
The event warning meter has hit code red. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we understand that cryptocurrency is something new out there, and many people call it a bubble, but I don't believe there's that many people in there where it can be called a bubble as of yet. We know the central banking system, they're looking into it. They're trying to create their own type of crypto coin. We know the IMF director, Christine Lagarde, has been looking at it saying, maybe we should go in this direction. And we understand that cryptocurrencies have gone up. They've gone down. They have gone up once again. And Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dash, and there's, something like 1,000 of them or something out there. Well, the wealthy people, they realize that eventually this most likely will be the electronic form of our currency. And they've been socking cryptocurrency away. And basically what they've been doing is they've been hiding their cryptocurrency in Switzerland. And it's hidden underground in a vault. Now, this is not physical. What they're actually doing is they are storing their private keys on drives in a vault in Switzerland, underground. And there's billions upon billions that are there. Now, again, you need your private key and your public key to basically access your holdings. So they're not physically storing that information or their coins digitally there. They're storing their private, and the public key doesn't have to be stored, but the private key, so they can have access later on. Because remember, everything is kept on a ledger and it's distributed throughout the world on different systems. And it always keeps track of all this. It goes back to the beginning and recalculates everything to the present day. Now, this is in a Swiss military facility built in 1947, and it served as the Army's secret headquarters during the Cold War. And you can see inside the vault, there's still old maps and clocks and radios and things like that. But what is set up inside is these computer systems. And the computer systems, they have a lot of hard drives in them. It also is shielded and protected where the barrier will protect everything from an EMP type of blast. So nothing will be erased on the drives. So the wealthy are storing their private keys in this area, and they are continually collecting more and more cryptocurrencies. And we can see that they are getting prepared and ready for this new currency type of system. And I do believe that cryptocurrencies, they're going to play some type of role. Now, last report, we mentioned the story about the Clintons, Russia, Obama, the uranium deal, extortion, bribery, some people taking bribes and things like that, going to speeches, going into different funds. And we see at this point that this type of news now is gaining traction. Actually, Trump is tweeting about it, and the corporate media is kind of talking about it, but not really. They're kind of hands off right now. But there is an FBI informant that was looking at the details, looking at the information, and this FBI informant is being threatened right now not to say anything. And the informant right now, the code name for this person is Confidential Source 1, says that when he attempted to come forward last year with information that linked the Clinton Foundation directly to the scandal, he was promptly silenced by the FBI and the Obama administration. And we see at this point that they don't want anyone talking, because this is the real story. This is what the corporate media doesn't want anyone to know about. This is what the Clintons don't want anyone to know about. This is what Obama doesn't want anyone to know about. And like I said, these truth bombs, they are coming out, and they're coming out all over the place. And eventually they're going to gain traction, and people are going to ask questions, and this is going to gain momentum. Just like the spying on Trump. Everyone said this is ridiculous. This didn't happen. And then as people looked into it, well, it did look like it happened. The Russian collusion story, that was completely fake, phony, and false, because that was made up by the intelligence agencies, by the cabal, by the corporate media. Now, what's very interesting is that the former FEC chair, and her name is Anne Revell. She's a Berkeley lecturer, and she's a former FEC chair. She has created this disinformation crackdown paper, and she's saying that the government needs to control the disinformation on the internet. And basically what she didn't do is really describe what she means by disinformation. Now, she's pushing a proposal that she said she laid out in a paper to combat fake news. And the regulation would include the targeting of people who share stories deemed fake or disinformation by government regulators. In addition to new rules on paid ads, Revell wants fake news to be regulated under her proposal titled "Fool Me Once: The Case for Government Regulation of Fake News." If adopted, a social media user would be flagged for sharing anything deemed false by regulators. Well, let's just look at this for a second. First of all, the corporate media was out there, and they were saying that this Russian collusion was a true story. The alternative media saying, well, we looked into this, there's nothing here. Project Veritas went undercover and proved that this was a nothing burger. They had nothing. It was all completely made up. So at this point, it looks like the corporate media was spreading disinformation. And this is where the problem comes in, because who are they going to actually stop? Is it going to be the corporate media? Is it going to be the alternative media? Well, we know it's going to be the alternative media, but we can see what they're trying to do here. So basically what she's trying to do, and what her paper is proposing, and I quote, "After a social media user clicks share on a disputed item, if the platforms do not remove them and only label them as disputed, government can require that the user be reminded of the definition of libel against a public figure. Libel of a public figure requires actual malice, defined as knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. Sharing an item that has been flagged as as untrue might trigger liability under the libel law." So basically, if you share a story and they deem it as disinformation, you'll be liable. And again, who is deciding if a story is true or untrue? Because if you have facts behind it, then what? I mean, the corporate media, they kept repeating Russian collusion, Russia cyber attacked the elections, but they never showed proof. And it turned out to be false. And this is going to be a problem. But you can see what they're still trying to do. They're trying to control everything, because they don't like the alternative media out there reporting on things. They only want one source of information. So out in Spain, we can see that things are really heating up right now. The Spanish government has cracked down on the Catalan separatists, and they have arrested and jailed 2 individuals. They're saying that, listen, this referendum is null and void. You can't go forward with it. And it looks like the Catalonian people, the individuals there, are saying, listen, you can't stop us. If we want independence, we are going to get it. And it looks like the Catalonian government and the Spanish government, they're starting to butt heads. The people are going to butt heads. And once again, we might move into some type of civil war. And we need to watch this, because we can see that things are really heating up in this area. We see the propaganda about North Korea is continually building. Right now, they're reporting that North Korea is building a new submarine, the Simpo-C. It was detected by U.S. intelligence. And this diesel-electric powered submarine will be able to sail to the United States and launch a ballistic missile. Now, they're saying that North Korea currently has one ballistic missile submarine called the Whale, and they're saying that they're building an even better ballistic missile type of sub where they'll be able to launch these missiles at the United States. So they're pushing the idea that North Korea is building these submarines. They're going to be sailing it over the United States, and they're going to be launching a missile. Now, let's think about this for a second. How easy would it be for the cabal to have a submarine, unmarked, launch some type of missile at the United States and make it look like it came from North Korea, or have it launched from the submarine near South Korea and hit South Korea? Maybe the nuclear weapon doesn't go off, but they see some radioactivity because they stored that in the missile, and they make it look like something just happened. And it looks like this is exactly what they're building up to. And you can see that the event meter right now has reached code red. I mean, they're talking about cyber attacks. They're talking about the power electric grid. They're talking about submarines firing ballistic missiles at the United States. They're continually keeping this up because they're preparing and getting ready for some type of an event. And we can see we're getting more and more of this information, and they are building this up to make everyone believe that North Korea is actually going to be doing this. Now, out in Afghanistan, we can see the former president Karzai is out there, and Karzai was part of the regime change. He was part of the puppet government. He made a lot of money on the pipeline deal, and he is out there saying, listen, the Islamic State in Afghanistan is a U.S. tool to cause trouble in the whole region. And Karzai, at the end of his term, wouldn't sign the bilateral security agreement with the United States to have troops stay in Afghanistan. This is why Obama said we're removing the troops from Afghanistan, because that document wasn't signed, which actually gave immunity to the soldiers in Afghanistan. So Obama had no choice but to remove the soldiers from Afghanistan. He wasn't doing it because he's saying that the war was over and we're removing our troops. That wasn't the reason. When John Kerry went to Afghanistan and helped with the elections, they got the individual they wanted. He signed the agreement, and right after the agreement was signed, more troops started to enter Afghanistan at that point. But we could see at this point, people are now coming out saying, listen, this is what's really been happening. We see it in Afghanistan. We see it in Syria. We see it in Iraq, actually out in Iraq. We understand that the United States, the cabal, has been trying to use the Kurd area to sell oil, and the Iraqi government is out there saying, listen, all oil sales must go through the Iraqi government. Kurds, they're not selling it on their own. They're still part of Iraq. And of course, we know why the cabal wanted to do this, because Iraq is looking to trade outside of the dollar, sell the oil, not using the dollar, and many countries are doing this. We see that the Syrian army, they are trying to take back the Golan Heights area. We see Israel now is actually there and attacking the Syrian armed forces. And we can see that everything is coming to an end in Syria right now. The Middle East has fallen. There's nothing the cabal can do at this point unless they have some type of an event. We also see that the U.S. is proposing new cybersecurity controls to protect the power grid. The Energy Department said in a report in January that the electricity system faces imminent danger from cyber attacks. They're saying a successful hack could cause widespread power failures, and we could see the news is just all over the place with describing how North Korea is going to be cyber attacking the power infrastructure, or cyber attacking the financial institutions. We're also getting reports, and this is coming out of the out of DHS and coming out of MI5, where they're saying the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda are plotting to take down a plane and carry out a devastating explosion on the same scale of 9/11. So we have all of this happening all at once. Now, according to Duke, and this is the DHS secretary, the terrorists are just using these recent small attacks to keep their members engaged. In the interim, they need to keep their finances flowing, and they need to keep their visibility high, and they need to keep their members engaged. So they are using small plots, and they are happy to have small plots right now. But we can see that they're preparing for a major one. We also have the Director General of MI5, Andrew Parker, out there from Britain, saying that the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, they are planning this huge event. So imagine this. We have the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda. They push physical events in Britain, throughout Europe, in the United States. We have North Korea, where they've been building this up, where they're going to bring down the power grid. They're going to be bringing down the financial institutions. And we have this happen at the same time. This would be an event of all events. And right now, the event meter, it is on code red because they are pushing these stories really, really hard. Like I said, their backs are against the wall. They're going to become very, very desperate. And we can see that at this point, they're continually pushing out the propaganda. They want everyone to know that these things are going to happen. And we should be looking at this and saying, okay, let's get prepared for what is coming, because they have no choice. The economy is coming down. They're losing what they once had, the Middle East, control, and there's nothing else they can do. Look at all the truth bombs that are coming out right now. And we can see there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be called into Congress for hearings saying, what is all of this? They don't want this to happen. They don't want this to happen. So they're going to be covering all this up. And we can see they're building and building the propaganda. This is why you need to be ready and prepared for what is coming.